Perfect. Welcome everybody. As I said, my name is Álvaro González, Director of Cybersecurity. Here is Charlie Palmer, my Director of Bad Software and IFAC. And we are gonna have a talk of 1 hour more or less about cybersecurity for companies. Take into account that this is not like a school or a university talk. If you have any inquiries, please tell me your name and what's the inquiry in the middle of the presentation, and I will respond it. If not, you can keep the questions to the last part of the talk. Saying this, let me share my screen and we can start. Okay. As I said, welcome to the cybersecurity for companies. I'm going to introduce myself a little bit and give you a little bit of my background. My name is Álvaro González. I'm a graduate from Gloucester University in Cyber and Computer Security. Previously to that, in Spain, I was graduated in Microsystems and Networks by CSS Fuencarral. And also I am a member of the INCIBE bootcamp. The INCIBE is the National Cybersecurity Institute of Spain that they create several courses that I've been joined through my study years. And that's a little bit of my portfolio. I'm still developing my knowledge, and this kind of talks will help me to achieve the future that I want. So thank you everybody to come. And let's gonna start. So, cybersecurity is something that the past years we can it get more important in a company, not only in a companies, also in our daily lives. We could hear in the news like there is being an attack here, there is being a new scam with the mobile phones, and this is part of our daily basis now. As we can see, our world is more interconnected in the daily basis with phones. Internet is reaching every single corner, even though this pandemic show us that the bridge between countries, the bridge between technology in different countries is bigger than we thought. But little by little, we are getting into a more connected world. That means that nearly 59% of the small and medium-sized business, they don't have any strategies in cybersecurity terms speaking. They don't have any plan about what to do in the case that the company is being attacked, or what to do in the situation of being in an attack. They don't know how to respond. They don't know how to report that insecurities. So that means that company could potentially lose all the invest that they did during the years, or even lost the company. So these are the most common threats on our cyberspace. We have malware. Malware is a huge category that englobes bots, ransomware, and other kinds of malware, but I decided to do these three categories, like malware as a huge category that we are going to speak. But the two principles that are affecting more companies are bots and ransomware. We also have phishing attacks, social engineering, physical and cyber attacks, public Wi-Fi's. You will discover why I put it as a common thread here, and passwords. As I said, please, if someone has any doubt or anything, just comment, just interrupt me, and you can throw the question. Let's gonna start about malware. Who here knows what is a malware, or malware in general? Anybody? Well, malware are pieces of code that they are malicious. That means that they are intent to damage a computer. The damage it doesn't mean that needs to be internally of the computer, but it could be economical. It could be with information. We have several ways to perform damage with malware. Usually, are pieces of code hide it in a legit. Yeah, in a legit piece of software. Like, for example, who doesn't in the daily basis, who doesn't download a program that says that it's free? Usually, when something is free, that means that you are the price, and it happens with a lot of kinds of malware. You can find malware embedded in emails. You can find malware embedded in, for example, text messages. It could be malware everybody. So once that the malware is installed in a piece of software, in a piece of hardware, it could be spread in the whole network of the computers. Like for example, if we are in a company that has 30 or 40 computers, it with one computer is infected, it could be spread through the whole system, and that's a problem because in the IT perspective, detected is only one way to detect this malware, that is using antivirus or anti-malware that is updated. And sadly, the reports of the past years, they show us that the companies, they are not using appropriate anti-malware or antiviruses. They use free anti-malware antiviruses that they are okay, but the problem is that they are not cover a full scope of possible attacks. And that's the most sad news, because the saddest news is like almost 20% of companies, they don't use any malware or antivirus at all, and that's quite alarming because viruses or malware, they spread like normal viruses, and we can saw what happened during during this couple of years with this pandemic. It it only needs to have one computer to keep spreading across the network, and that's something that is really really important to make sure that the companies understand. They need to be protected against these kind of threats, and the only way to protect it is purchasing and maintaining maintaining a good and healthy system. As we can see here, there is a little image of how a malware is embedded in a different in a .exe and a executable um, in a executable piece of software. As we can see here, let me turn on the pointer. As we can see here, the time slab and the name, we can see here the signer who designed this kind of piece of software. As we can see, it's a kind of translator program, but the reality is that it could be like it could be a trustworthy piece of software, but the problem here is like we don't really know who edit the code that is inside, or who was uploading this piece of software. And we can see here is Beijing, but it's because of matters of privacy, is censored. We can see that it's a Chinese company that integrates a SHA algorithm into encryptation, but it's not valid. We can see here the name, but as we can see here, the certificate, is not really accurate and has some problems. That one is one of the indications that this could be a piece of malware, and actually this virus actually was one part of the initial infection of the WannaCry virus that we are gonna see in the next slides. Then we jump to another category of malware, but this one is a little bit more complex. We call it bots. As you know, the internet is full of bots that help us, like in trading. It helps us like purchasing things in our like favorite shops. Like could be like, for example, Amazon. If you go to the customer area in Amazon, the first contact that you will have probably will be with a bot to sort out which problem do you have with your purchase. But this kind of technology and this kind of programs, they could be used for bad things too. We call it bots to a computer, mobile phone, any piece of hardware or software that is infected and is under the umbrella of a bot master. Here in this example, we can see how an attacker can create a network of bots, and they can use for several purposes. The main ones are the gather of passwords, gather of low key strokes. That means that when you are typing in your keyboard, they will register every single key that you are typing, and then they can get the log, and they can check, like for example, passwords, important information, like for example financial situation, hijack into social media accounts. It could use to send email spam. It could be the bots. It could be used for opening backdoors and performing other attacks in other computers. And this is quite a dangerous area because the attacker is putting a layer between him and his activities. That means that according to the law of internet, it really varies because we don't have a universal law on internet, and it's something that is sadly is not gonna be possible to do anytime soon. So right now, jurisdictionally talking, every single server runs behind the laws of each country. Imagine that an attacker is in United States and he wants to attack a company in the same United States, but to put some layers of protection between him and the felony that he is gonna commit, he decides to infect other computers and create a bot network. So the attack comes from from those bots. So for the investigators, it would be complicated to see who is behind of that attack, and it could be it could have that layer of protection. And in other hand, the problem is, like, imagine like you are in your company with your doing your own businesses, and suddenly you see two officers knocking at your door saying that your computer is being involved into a DDoS attack or is gathering child pornography. There is a lot of problems there. So ultimately, it's gonna be a pain for you, a pain for your company to try to deal with these kind of things. And the only problem here is that they are really, really difficult to know if your computer is a bot or not. You can see that the performance in the computer is not as good as it used to be, or you can notice slightly changes. But the problem here is, like, it's really difficult to detect, and we come back to the same thing, how we can solve that, and it's using an anti-malware and antivirus that they are properly updated, that they are not free, sadly, and that covers all the scope of possibilities that your company is gonna need. Not only using right antivirus and right anti-malware, it will like diminish the risk or becoming a botnet. Also, maintaining your computers update, making sure that the computers of your employees doesn't download pieces of software that you don't know where it comes from, and taking into consideration also the problems that not problems but the different kind of risk. It will be diminished greatly, the risk that you are gonna have. As I can see here, in a bot network, it doesn't need to be only computers or mobile phones. It could also be EOT things, like for example these light bulbs that you can control with your voice with thanks to Alexa or Google. They can be objective of an attack too, and sadly this is quite of a trend right now, because these objects doesn't come with the cybersecurity behind of a computer, of a mobile phone. They are quite unprotected. So we have to make sure that we make a completely safe installation, change the default passwords, and if it's possible, try to have them in a different network that the network that we are using to work, to study, or to perform different daily tasks that we have. As I said, These botnets, they usually are involved with spam generation attacks, DDoS, infected other system, and phishing. Let's gonna cut to the chase. Ransomware. This piece of malware gave a lot of talk around like 4-5 years ago, where like the NHS was affected. Like almost every single piece of computer in the world was infected with ransomware. And what is this piece of malware? This piece of malware is kind of a tricky one. What it does is lock your computer entirely, like your screen, or encrypt all the data that you have in your hard disks, so it will not be able to access. And with that, the attackers will ask you for some kind of money to be able to access to your computer. Normally, this malware infects a computer via downloading software that you don't know where it comes from. It could be linking to an email. It could be in a website that is not trustworthy, and that's really difficult to see. And also because the antivirus, anti-malware, they were not prepared for this kind of attack. As I said, WannaCry, it was the biggest attack that it was occurring in 2017, and it locked a lot of computers. And the problem here is like we don't know exactly how many computers were affected by ransomware, because one of the strategies that companies tend to do when cyber attack is performed in his company is not telling to their clients or not telling to the public information, make it public that information, because it's kind of like a black mark in the company. I can imagine that the PR in that moment, it will be like crazy how, like, for example, I don't know, the NHS, that it was like really affected by this, so how they can say like, oh yeah, like we got infected by the virus, and all the profiles of our patients are encrypted. We cannot get insight of them. It's kind of a shameful piece of information that no company wants to share. As I can say, like everybody in the nowadays is being attacked or is being trying to be attacked. Like there are many of attacks that they are occurring right now in different companies. Some of them with success, some of them with no success. But the problem here is like these companies, they don't talk about these things. As I can say, there are many companies that are being affected by this virus. We have NHS, Renault, FedEx, Spanish telecoms, like for example Telefónica. Funny enough, I was doing my placements when this happened. I was doing my placements in Anovo. It's a repairing company for phones, computers, tablets, and we have a straight connection with Telefónica, Vodafone, and several telecommunication companies. And because I was aware Telefónica sent a message on Twitter that their service has been affected, we would be able to unplug our system and disconnect from Telefónica, and we didn't have any casualties in this attack. But it was a really bad attack that affects like globally. It was crazy. As we can see here, the NSS was like has to suspend like more than 6,000 operations during several weeks, and it was a completely disaster for everybody. This is like this piece of here, as we can see, is the interface of WannaCry, how it looks like. WannaCry particularly like cipher, like crypt all the information in the hard disk, and we can see here that they have several countdowns. That is sorry, I forgot the word right now. It's a way to make pressure to the people. It's a psychological weapon. Sorry, to see that the time is going down and you are not going to be able to recover all your data. And we can see here that they want a payment in bitcoins, a cryptocurrency that is really difficult to know where the payment is going. It's a layer of security there where making public all the transactions you can hide. And many people pay this ransom. And the problem is, like, if your companies ever get affected with this, never ever pay to the bad guys, because you don't know if you are gonna receive your information, if your computer is gonna be unlocked. You never know. So my main advice here, if your company gets infected with a ransomware virus, never pay. Make sure, like, disconnect everything that you have, every computer that you have in your system disconnected. It will be an impact for the company, definitely, but take into consideration that you can never trust a person that is holding a weapon against you. Never pay. Make sure that everything is disconnected. Check your backup copies and make sure that those backup copies they are not infected. And that's the only thing. Let's gonna see the next slide. How to tackle the ransomware? As I said, never pay. That's not an option. Like, if it's the situation, please, it's really important, because many companies, including Telefonica, pay the ransomware and never get the data back. Backup, the backup is really important. Make sure that if it's possible, every single week you make a backup copy of your servers or your computers. If it's not possible, every single month, I will establish as a mandatory direction in your companies to make sure that all the data is safe and safe storage. Make sure that make a periodical checks in your backup security that is not infected, is not compromised, and is stored in a safe place. Patch every single time. I know it is annoying when you are working and you see the little pop-up on Windows saying, oh, we need to update the system. That updates are for a reason. Those updates are for keep your system secure, and not only in computers, phones, tablets, every single piece of component that they have a SO and needs to be updated, please update it. And not only that, programs too. When, for example, Adobe, a typical tool that we use to read PDFs, show us a pop-up that they need to be updated, please update it, because you don't have any idea that how many viruses are behind of Adobe. There are a lot of pieces of malware that they take advantage of Adobe vulnerabilities, and it's really important to maintain those on check. Also, don't click on attachments that you don't know where where come from. I can say emails, SMS, WhatsApps. If you cannot contrast the identity of the person that is behind of that message, please don't click it. Make sure, make a call, just send a text saying, what is this? Just to make sure. And in that way, the risk of being infected, not only by ransomware, in any cases of malware, it will be less probable. Let's gonna jump to another attack that is quite popular between companies, and is phishing. Phishing is the attempt, or is the attempt of gathering information using deception or using other different techniques. One of the most typical ones is the Nigerian Black Prince. Everybody have received an email saying like, oh, I'm this prince from Nigeria, Switzerland, yada yada. That I have this huge fortune that I want to take out of my country, and if you help me, I will give you a percentage of it. as my grandma say, nobody gives money for free, and in internet that's the case. If, as I said previously, if something is free, you are the price that you are paying. So usually these kind of attacks are used to gather information, for example, like login credentials, payment cards, or upload malware, like in the case of some cases of WannaCry or the or bots. And it's an extend attack, because the problem here is like people doesn't have the training to detect phishing attacks, and I don't blame nobody. Like nowadays, the phishing attacks, they are getting more and more sophisticated, and they are more difficult to spotlight. But with the techniques that I'm gonna give you now in a few minutes, it's gonna make your life a little bit more easy. As I said, the email, it will impersonate a person, a company, a service that you have in your daily basis, like for example Netflix or UPS or your bank. And that's quite difficult because nowadays we live in a time that everybody is rushing, so we don't stop and double verify the information that we are receiving, and that's how the attackers take advantage of us. Let's gonna see this example. We have a PayPal email. PayPal, this is a platform that is one of the most useful used platforms to do payments, request money, those kind of things. And sadly, there is this trend that now a lot of phishing emails, they are starting to detach from like really silly scams, like for example the Nigerian prince or the lottery ticket that you bought in Canada, and they are performing and they are trying to impersonate banks or these kind of services. The main tips that I can say you is like, don't click in emails unless that you know who is sending to them. Also, if the email clients that we have now, like for example Google, Outlook, they are quite sophisticated to identify spam. So another tip that I will give to you is like, unless that a client or a person that you already verified their identity doesn't send you an email saying like, or giving you a phone call saying like, hey look, I sent you an email, I didn't have any reply, can you check if you have it? Like, then you can check the spam folder. If not, try to be as far as as you can from the spam folder, because you will see some emails there that they are quite legit and they are not. As I can said, build a verify method. Yeah, it could be like giving a phone call using the real email that the sender, like, just verify. And don't, if you receive an email that you are not really 100% sure that is, just double check it. PayPal has an online website that you can check if the email is accurate or not. You can call them. There's many ways to see if that email is a good email or a bad email. And also, if in any case you receive an email and it's a spam email, mark them as a spam, because the system and the email providers, they will red flag that mail and that IP, and all the emails that are come through you, they are gonna go straight to the spam folder. Going back to this email, we can see here 4 red flags that you should not find in a legit email. For example, here, the email provider. We can see that it's service at PayPal That's strange. PayPal is a huge company that they don't need to have like different email providers in different countries. They probably will be service at paypal.com, for example. And here we can see that they have the Australia. Honestly, it looks really legit. All the email, it will looks like it's an email from PayPal, but there are subtle things. Like one of them is the email address. The second one, yeah, the inside of the email is not really, it's quite strange. Like maybe you use PayPal a couple of times, but only for payment, but they are asking you for a payment that you didn't perform like in the last week, and you didn't bought anything with PayPal like a month ago. So that's another indication that will at least like make you raise a eyebrow and say like, hmm, this is not quite right, isn't it? So don't rush, check all the email, read everything, try to think if it's a real problem, and if not, just not ignore it, but just leave it settled. If it's a real problem, PayPal will send you another email, so you will confirm. And if you have the doubt, go to the website. They will hear you or call the customer services, and they will help you with all. This is my favorite one, and it's something that you should look to see if an email is correct, and it's the bad grammar. I've seen a lot of spam emails, and there are a few of them. They are quite hilarious, and like a big company like PayPal or, for example, your bank is not gonna commit grammar mistakes like this one, like log in your account. Doesn't sound really professional in it, isn't it? So there are a lot of emails that they look legit, and you see like, well, like this is not the right grammar. That's 100% a red flag. That's something that it will not fail. Almost all these emails, they are generated by a computer, by a machine, that they don't have any grammar mistakes. Only a human can do this kind of mistakes. For the last but not least, we have these emails, these links, sorry. As we can see here, like you can see, oh, log into your account, like click it. But the problem is like people, they will not think twice about clicking an email. So they will click it, and that's the problem. It could be a virus, they could be redirected to a fake website so they can achieve your login data. And as we can see here, we have this strange IP. Where's that IP come from? It's not like paypal.com. So here is the problem. They will redirect you to a website that looks like PayPal, but it's not PayPal, so they can achieve your login. We have many different examples. As I told you before, this is like one of the latest scams that have been around, like these phishing emails. These examples they've been gathered by me from some colleagues from Gloucester University that are performing research on this. This is one of the newest ones with NatWest. As we can see here, it looks like a proper email for NatWest, but the link here asks for an update in your two-factor authentication. That's something that how to solve, but we will explain it after. And it looks like actually it's one of the best spam emails, phishing emails that I saw in my life. The grammar is accurate. It doesn't look like it's a phishing email, but it is. This, as far as my colleagues told me, this will redirect you to another website that it will make sure that applies for the token. They will ask you for your double factor authentication token to reestablish it. But once that they have a small window of time to put it in the NatWest Bank and then be able to access. This attack was really sophisticated actually. Here we can see another example of phishing email for NatWest. Let's gonna check here. The URL is not the real NatWest out. Like you can see, it's like www.for Nat. Doesn't look like professional. It's not accurate. But the website looks exactly the same as if you log into NatWest through your phone, and you can see that nothing it will make you suspect about this is a malicious website. As we can see here, in the contact, the email too is not an official email for NatWest. So also this is quite wrong in this sense. Like you will have to make sure that the bank is the email of the bank that is sending to you, and this is not the case. And these attacks, they are getting more and more sophisticated. Right now, they are using the system of double authentication on mobile phones. They will send you a text message saying like, oh, there is a security breach, you should log in to change your password, your credentials, and they will send you this link. As we can see, is a IP direction that we don't know where it comes from, we don't know where it goes, we don't know nothing about this IP. And it's not only NatWest, it's also HSBC. We have Lloyd's here. Actually, this is one of the messages that I received a few days ago, that they were trying to steal all my savings, but they found that they didn't have any success with me, and I hope that with the persons that are here, they will not have any success neither. This is quite disturbing. This is from Halifax. This actually is from a friend of mine that he's working in cybersecurity too, a colleague of mine. This is so scary because the previous message that we can see here, they are actually they are actually truthful message from Halifax when he was logging into account, but the attackers managed to use Halifax number to send this IP. And the phone, like, it could honestly, if I don't have this bad habit or double check everything that I do on internet, I will fall too, because on my phone, in the thread that I have in my phone about Lloyd's, that they will send me the two-factor authentication, I will see this, and it's like I will fall if it was not, because this IP looks quite suspicious. But the scary part is like they manage to spoof the phone number for Halifax, or at least the bot that is using to send this kind of messages. Be careful, because nowadays it's really quite difficult. As I said, double verify everything, and the way to tackle this. The way to tackle this kind of attacks is establishing verifying the identity of the person that sends you the information, and being careful, like don't rush, analyze every single aspect of an email, text message, or everything. I'm not saying like spend 2 hours, but don't rush. Just read it, everything, and if something doesn't sound right, just verify it. And the second one is use two-factor authentication. It's really, really important, and also like diminish a lot the risk of being attacked. In the case that you've been attacked and you obtain your login with a two-factor authentication, is that they're not gonna be able to access to your it's not going to be able to access to your account, because they will need the code that is generated and you can have in your phone, or even you can get physical tokens that they will generate your code automatically, and you will not have the problem. This is a security matter that in bad software we use. We are trying to make it mandatory to protect our clients and our servers, our systems. Honestly, I really recommend that everybody, if the service can manage a two-factor authentication, please do it. It will change your life, honestly. Let's gonna talk about social engineering, one of my favorite parts and one of the areas that I would like to be specialized one day. Social engineering is a method of attack that doesn't need to have a lot of skills behind of a computer. It's actually phishing attacks are a kind of social engineering attacks. And these attacks are criminals that they take advantage of common information that they will find on the internet with social media, information that you don't know, you don't know that is important, but it is, and they will use it to trick you and obtain what they want. Usually, they obtain this kind of information in social media, and they use it like they can use like location sharing to know, like for example, if you are in your office or you are at home. It could be in-person conversations. You never know who you are talking with, and you don't know how much information you are giving to a person. Like you can think that the humble person that is serving you the coffee in a Starbucks is a trustworthy person, but in reality, what he does behind after his work, you don't know. So there are pieces of information that is really vital to double think what kind of information you are like distributing on internet in your daily basis, and it could be like a flag to attack there. Really important. This part is a really extended topic, but this part, the only way to solve it is training. Almost every single thing in cybersecurity, it could be solved, but not solved 100%, but the risk will be diminished by training the persons that you are working with or working for. Why should you care? As I said, privacy is a luxury nowadays. The money is on the data. You can see like Facebook, these big companies, Google, they are making profit with the data that they have. And data nowadays is as valuable as our money, as our time, sorry. It's one of the currency that is gonna be really, really important in the next future. As I said, you don't really need to be a hacker. You don't really need to spend like several years of university to study how attack a computer, how to perform an attack, to perform this kind of attacks. And also, the technology is really limited to try to see this attack. Only with training and developing protocols, it will protect you from these attacks. Let's gonna go a little bit faster because we are running a little bit out of time. But yeah, physical attacks. This is another threat that companies they have. Physical attacks. It could be there are pieces of software that they use, pieces of hardware that they are used to attack a computer. They are really difficult to detect. They are really easy to overlook because they can look like a pen drive, and they are extremely difficult to remove because they can be hide in any place, or they could be like really difficult to detect. So it's really, really they are a really tricky ways to attack. Also, they can do whatever you think, like install ransomware, sending copies of information, modify information in the system, dismantling networks, replace networks, and there are several pieces of hardware that you can buy for a few pounds. Let's gonna see an example of them. The most typical one is this one. This one is a Raspberry Pi. It's a little computer that it can be purchased by, I think, £30 more or less, and you can do extremely crazy things with this. You can attach it to for example, a robotic arm and hack it. You can attach it to a computer. You can do incredible things, honestly, because it has these pins and also the software that they are using here. You can use it for several purposes, like industrial, a lot of things. Honestly, it's a little piece of hardware that is incredible. Then we have this one, the rubber ducky. This one, as you can see, it looks like a pen drive, but it's not a pen drive. Actually, this is a keyboard. It's a small keyboard that you can see in the SD. that is disguised as a USB, and what it does is once that you plug in the computer, it will download, write, do whatever you do what the attackers want, like install malware, send information to another IP. The sky is the limit, honestly, and this could be purchased for $60, I think, last time I checked. These two pieces over here. This one is the hack key. It's a piece of hardware that they use to open NFC locks, like as you can see, the technology that you have in your phones to pay or to open a door with the cards, or even though some cars like Tesla, they use the technology of NFT. No, NFT. The touchless technology to open or to access different parts. And with this piece of hardware, you can copy the signature of the keys or of the chip that is inside, and copy, and you can use it in different areas. The last one is the proxy mark. This one is antenna, but not only antenna. This is a small router. What it does is you can hide it, for example, in the fake ceiling of a company, and it will take down the Wi-Fi, install it as it was the right Wi-Fi, and then all the connection that is established between this fake router and the real router, it will be plain, so any attacker can check passwords, information, conversations, anything. And the problem of these devices is like they are really difficult to spot. Like they can be hid in the ceiling, in the interior of for example, a table, and they are really difficult to find. And the damage that they will do, they are incredible. Let's gonna speak about public Wi-Fi. Okay, so I'm not the only sinner here. I've been connected to public Wi-Fi's to check my social media, check my messages, even work when I was in university. But public Wi-Fi's is like going into the jungle, shouting, making noise, and with really bright colors to way to a tiger or like a cheetah will eat you. You don't know. Public Wi-Fi is like jungle. You don't know who is connected there, who is listening, or how is the installation. So you are quite insecure where you are using public Wi-Fi's. It is true that you can use them. Honestly, I'm not gonna say like nobody use it, but when you use when you use this kind of Wi-Fi's, please make sure that the information that you are accessing is not vital. And with vital, it means like it's not your bank account, your company account, or like sensitive information like client profiles of clients or anything, because you never know who is behind of this network. One of the things to protect you in a public Wi-Fi, first of all, is check your website when you are accessing. Let's gonna put an example. For example, Facebook. Make sure that you see this HTTPS. This is a protocol that encrypts all the information that you are sending to the router or the router is accessing. So make sure that it's encrypted, because in public Wi-Fi, if it's a misconfiguration, you will not have this. Also accessing different websites, like for example, if you see that PayPal doesn't have HTTPS, it's a bad sign. It means that the communication between your computer and the website is not protected. And it's really easily to spot. If you go right now, if you have your website browser open, you will see this kind of logs. And another way to protect you in a public Wi-Fi is using a VPN. As I said previously, don't use bank accounts, don't purchase anything, or like don't consult sensitive data. But if you have to do it and you need to connect from a public Wi-Fi, like for example you are in the airport and you need to check a report or something like that, please use a VPN. It's a piece of software that everybody thinks, like you can see in a lot of adverts in YouTube or other across the internet, and it's such a small amount of money. Like you can find the IPs VPNs for maybe 10, 12 pounds, and you will be secure the connection. A VPN, what it does, as we can see here, is creating like a similar to a tunnel, and your data it will go in that tunnel. So if an attacker is trying to access, it will not be able to access that information because it's protected by a tunnel. That's like a really simple explanation of how a VPN works. But usually is your connection between your computer and the connection of internet is completely encrypted. It's encrypted. Nobody is gonna be able to break that encryption because probably will have a IS-215 or a higher protocol of encryptation. As we can see here, without a client VPN, the data travels without encryptation, but with a VPN client, you will be connected to a Wi-Fi, and all the information it will be encrypted, so nobody could access. Let's gonna talk about another topic, another weak spot for companies, that they are the passwords. Passwords usually they are not secure. Like the last report from, I was going to say Intibe, but it's not Intibe, from Cisco, sorry, show us that the most common password in 2021 was 12345 or QWERTY, similar passwords. And we have to make sure that our passwords are secure. It is difficult to it is not difficult to create as a secure password. And the problem with the companies is like the workers, they are like the employees, they are not using secure passwords. Also, one of the main problems is that we don't change the credentials so often. In my opinion, it will be really good if everybody could change their passwords once a month. That will be in an ideal world. Knowing how we are, I will say once every 2 or 3 months it will be the optimal thing. Another problems with the passwords are that people tend to use the same password for everything, for logging into their bank account, to logging into your Netflix account. And the problem here is like if in the remote case of a company leaks your password, it's there. It's on internet. It's really difficult to remove it, and everybody has access to it. So the first thing that a hacker is gonna try to do is gonna check if there is any leaks of those passwords, and if there is, get your password and try it and as many services as he can or she can. Also, another problem with the passwords in companies is like people tend to take note of them and put it in a post-it, like maybe near to the computer or in a drawer. Please don't do that. No, it's a big no-no. You cannot imagine how many companies I saw with this, and it's completely unsecure because you never know who is looking. Like it could be some delivery person who enters in the company and they spot the post-it with the password, and you are done. And in the last part, don't change it. Change it every 2-3 months. Change them. Here is a couple of tips that I can give you to make strong passwords. They are not by myself. They are made by the NCSC, and it's use one password per account. I know it's difficult. It's difficult to remind every single password that you use, but nowadays there are a lot of softwares that solves our problems. Like for example, you can use virtual keychains, like for example 1Pass Also, there are the one that I use now that I cannot remember how is the name. LastPass, for example, is also another service that is quite good. Or use the password management from, for example, Apple, that is quite good. But in the case that you don't want to use any external software, you have the option of you choose 3 random words with capitals, and if it's possible, with a number of your choice and a symbol of your choice. That in that way, it will be really difficult to try to access into your account by first browse, trying passwords one after one after one. And if it could be like words or words that they are not in our they are not like official ones, like for example Apple keyboard glass, that would be optimal, because attackers, they will use dictionaries with these words and combination of these words to try to break into the password, into the login. If you follow this advice, like using one password per account, change the password every 2 or 3 months, and using a keychain or using random words, the strength of your passwords, it will be really, really strong. We are in the last part of this talk. Let's gonna talk a little bit about the realities of cyber attacks.
Okay, so Alvaro, I think the seminar was scheduled to finish at 11. Is that right?
Yes, it's gonna be 2 more slides, and we can jump to questions. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. So let's gonna speak about the reality. All the business, all the companies, they are on risk. Nobody can tell you that you are gonna be 100% secure. But using these tips that I gave you and putting into the hands of professionals, it will be definitely diminish the risk on your companies. The majority of criminals they are indiscriminate. They really don't think about which company they are attacked. They are only gonna attack the companies that they are weak, or that they have a breach in their security. As we can see, there is a little bit of these breaches in 2010. The services from Verizon respond to 761 data breaches. There are a lot. 60% of the companies have 100 or fewer employees, but we don't know exactly, because the bigger companies, they tend not to say this data. And 95% of credit data breaches are in medium and small businesses. So let's gonna speak quickly about the sharing for responsibility. It's not only the responsibility of the company to maintain the security. It's also part of our security as daily citizens of internet. We have to take into consideration all of this information that is not only beneficial for the companies, it's also beneficial for your daily basis, and try to apply it. And for last, these are a few tips that I will give you for your companies. Assess the risks and identify your weaknesses. Know what are your weaknesses are really key factors to create a contingency plan. You have to create a contingency plan to see, in case that someone hacks into your company, what to do. Educate your employees, as you are doing right now. Backup critical information. Secure your internet connection using VPNs, SSH. Try to maintain your connections as encrypted as you can. And create a continuity plan. Cybersecurity is not something that you can create one plan and it's done. You will need to upload it, and you will need to update it every single year or every single month, because the hackers, the good hackers, we study through all our lives, because the bad guys, they keep developing new ways to attack, and there are always new technologies that they are gonna be developed. And for the last part, please, 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 if your company has suffered any attack or like any major attack, and the data of your clients or your personal data is compromised, please get in contact with Action and Fraud. You can get in contact with these links, actionfraud.police.uk, or call the number. There is no shame to admit that you've been attacked. Everybody is being attacked every single day. The thing is, like, some attacks they can break in, and some of them not. But please, then make sure that you contact the authorities. And last but not least, in Bad Software, we are starting to develop and offer audits and training. If you are interested, please get in contact with us with a phone call, or in our website. There is a form there that you can fill, and we will get in contact with you. So, well, this is the end of this talk. Now, if you have any question, please make sure to answer. Well, make sure to do them now, and I will reply of them. Thank you, Charlie. Give me one. I will pass you. You can talk now, and we're gonna set up this.
Alvaro, will you have the slides available for people to use again?
Yes, we will update. We will upload the slides in our website in the blog part, so you can access to them.
And okay, and that includes the recording of this seminar.
Yes, it will be included a recording of the seminar in case that you want to rewatch it or like show it to your teams, and yeah, it will be accessible for everybody.
Super.
Yep.
Somebody else is wanting to ask you a question. I better wind it up.
Yeah.
But being 11, slightly over.
I have a question here. We have everything safe on a. Okay, so Keith Ahmed asked here. We have everything safe on OneDrive and have SysCloud as a backup solution. Would we still need to take physical backups? Yes. The thing is, like, cloud. Saving your information in the cloud is a really good way of maintain your backup securities. Also, in Bad Software, for example, all the documents that we have for the Charlie can tell you more about. You can upload it and it will be more secure. But I will recommend to have physical copies because in the end you are putting your security components in a third-hand company that you don't know if that company is
But what do you mean by physical?
Physical, with a hard disk. If, for example, if you have a server in your company, talk with the IT team and make sure that they are doing physical copies in hard disks, and those hard disks are in a secure area, like, for example, a place that where limited people have access. Yep, I will recommend to do physical backups if you can and if you need. You're welcome, Kate.
Super.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I think it's really good. Very helpful.
Yeah. Anyone has any more questions about?
No, okay. Thank you very much indeed. That's very good. Very useful.
Okay, thank you so
much.
Paul
Francis has asked a question, as I have maybe 100 different places that I need to use a password.
Yeah. As I have 100 different places that I need to use password, if I had different 3 words password for every one of these and I had to change them all every month, I will never get anything else done. Exactly. In that case, if you are managing a lot of credentials, I would recommend a software to manage them. Like, for example, LastPass. LastPass is incredible. They will advise you when was the last time that you changed a password, and they generate automatically the passwords. Also, they have some a plugin in your web browser that make a secure link. So you click in the in the service that you want to log in, and they through a kind of VPN that they have integrated in the system, they will log in and set up the password and everything. So you will not have to worry anything. I will recommend I will recommend this piece of software for you if it's not the case.
Yeah, can you circulate the name?
LastPass, yes, I will write it now.
And how do you know that that's not hacked?
LastPass, apart from that, they provide like they have a lot of examination during the fiscal year. There is not any report that they have been hacked. There is also several companies that they do audits apart from them, so that's an extra layer of security that they can offer.
Super.
Yeah. Well, we have time for one more question if someone needs another episode. If not, you can contact to the phone number of Bad Software, and they will redirect it to me, so I can reply any questions that you have to.
Thank you, Alvaro.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I hope that this talk it was helpful. And yeah, during this week, you will have the video recording of this session and also the slides, in case that you want to use it for training purposes. And thank you so much. I hope that everybody enjoyed it and have a nice weekend.